Hello, I'm Mickel Magnay, a Portfolio Director in Cazenove Capital's Business Owners team. We work with clients who own or have owned businesses and often work with them through the exit process. In this video, we will be looking at some of the issues surrounding selling a business in more detail. I am delighted to be joined by Mairi Mickel, an experienced family business advisor and consultant. Mairi brings extensive experience advising enterprising families and as an active owner and former board director of the century-old McTaggart and Mickel Group. We are also joined by James Gladstone, Head of Wealth Planning at Cazenove Capital, who advises many business-owning families on estate planning and wealth structuring. Thank you for joining me. We are seeing two core approaches at present. Those families who are simply looking to keep their heads down on a 5-year view and are hoping for an improving tax backdrop, and those who are actively seeking to transition their businesses to the next generation. So Mairi, what are the key drivers leading a family to think about selling a business at present?
I think there are several, and it depends on the age and stage of the family and the business. What I also see, if there are no natural family successors into a leadership position, that will be a trigger to think about sale. Also, the change in tax environments, which we've just experienced through the most recent budget. And thirdly, if there are really tough market conditions, and those three things that would keep a family going over time, the enduring things such as curiosity, adaptability and teamwork, if those are diminishing or people are facing burnout and have lost the ambition to continue, then actually that sort of generative, enduring business continuity, that environment changes and families start considering more seriously a sale and exit. So we recently made the decision to sell our legacy business, our legacy part of our family business. So yes, I can understand that tough market conditions would prompt, as we have done, some very difficult decision making.
That's very interesting and leads on to my next question is, in that business sale of the house building part of your business, what were some of the challenges and pitfalls that you saw?
One of the main challenges, that bringing it back to the family side, because the two are very difficult to separate, was that the legacy business, the home building business, was for what we're known most for. So you drive down the streets in various Scottish locations and we've built absolutely everything on either side of the road. So I think the difficulty with parting with that part of our legacy has caused quite a lot of shareholders to want to hold on and not let go. And I understand that visibility, that association with the brand, which also bears our name. So I think that's definitely one of the difficulties in a business exit. I think any decision that's made in a family about the future has to be made collectively. So all of the owners have to be able to come to some kind of consensus. Otherwise, a sale wouldn't go through. And I've seen outlier shareholders stop business exit happening well in the past. So Mickel, what are you seeing in terms of exits from business with your current clients?
Well, the UK market at the moment is relatively unique, and that is driven by the fact that the listed market in particular has been under very real pressure for a sustained period of time. If we look at the various buyers out there at the moment, there are US companies who are dollar purchasers, and they are looking at UK PLC thinking it looks very attractive. High quality businesses on distressed valuations using dollars to buy them. We also have PE funds who have a glut of capital and they are looking to deploy that. So again, they are interested parties, but selling to PE is a whole nother discussion. The market that has been very difficult, as I said at the outset, has been the listed market, and we have seen very, very few businesses go for listing in the UK. This leads neatly on to how family wealth should be structured at an exit. James, what are your thoughts in that regard?
Well, it's an interesting one because we often get involved with clients, as you know, ahead of the business sale. So we can talk about opportunities that might be lost post-sale. So, for example, putting shares into trust while they still qualify for the relief. So that can be a very, very interesting route to take. We also use things like cash flow modelling to help clients identify what life might look like on the other side of the transaction. I mean, I have an example where I had a particular client who's a business owner who was entertaining an offer for the business, but he wasn't quite sure whether it was going to be enough to give them what they needed on the other side of the transaction. So we mapped it out financially for him to show them what that would look like. If we cast our minds post-sale, then we've got a full range of options that we can look at for clients, depending on what it is that they're looking to achieve. And which option is the best for them will depend upon the level of control that they want, how they want to engage the next generation or potentially protect the next generation from the capital that's available, how tax efficient they want to be. There are clearly different taxes associated with different structures. So we have a full range of options that we can look at. One of the things we do think about a lot, and I know, Mickel, we've had discussions with clients about this in the past, is trying to compartmentalise wealth in a certain way. So thinking about what the immediate liquidity requirements are post-sale, what income they're going to need over the course of their lifetime, which is effectively the lifestyle engine for that family group. And then isolating what is effectively the legacy pot. So what is the money that they're not going to need and where does that go? Does it go to charity? Does it go to the next generation? And it may well be that we can take a much longer term view with that legacy money, potentially using higher volatility, higher illiquidity assets in there that will give a much better long-term return for that particular pot. So the answer is it's complicated and it depends, but we can certainly take clients through that discussion to make sure that we isolate what is best for them. But early engagement, ideally pre-sale, is the best time to have the discussion.
And do you see that business owners have a preference for the trust route or for corporate structures, or a mixture of the two?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think corporate structures have become very, very popular in the last 10 years or so. And I think it's natural for a business owner to gravitate towards that as the family vehicle, because as a business owner, you understand companies and trusts can be something new that people need to understand. I think whilst the taxation of both of those vehicles has become arguably less attractive over the last 10 years or so, both of them very much have their place. And there are certain scenarios where a trust is the right answer over a corporate and vice versa. So it really does depend upon the family setup. And Mairi, I'd actually be interested in your view, when you have come across business owners that want to exit their company and the financial challenges associated with that, do you actually engage them on that particular subject as part of the transaction process?
Yes, I do, Raoul, because most of my work is about owners making good collective decisions together. I recently worked with a client who actually had taken some private equity on board to de-risk the business, to allow growth to occur, to dilute the shareholding of a majority shareholder. But then they were inviting a different owner into the boardroom, the equity house, who had a different understanding on exit and multipliers from the family themselves. So that became quite a difficult transactional conversation. They then went on to sell to another family business over time, which gave Dad the opportunity to exit well, and the PE house the opportunity to get the multiplier they were after, and the rising generation leader himself an opportunity to work in an exciting UK-based bigger version of themselves. So yes, it's definitely something I get involved in.
So it very much seems like a journey that one has to go down, and working with families over many years, really ahead of a transaction, is the key to success.
Absolutely. And your team seems to have a lot of experience with business owners, and I understand that 40% of your client base are business owners. What is it that you think attracts them to Schroders?
I think the key differentiator is that we look to work with families and business owners well in advance of any sale transaction occurring. And this can be 2-3 years out. And that is absolutely critical, because then one gets to understand the business and the family dynamics. James, have you got anything to add there?
Well, I think it's also that we take the time to understand them. We have a very specialist team here at Cazenove that can help on the investment side, on the planning side, the banking side. But it's also that experience of dealing with individuals and business owners, having gone through that process, and the experience and the expertise that you can bring to the table, I think is incredibly valuable, because we've seen and been through it dozens of times, whereas somebody exiting, certainly if it's a big exit with them, it might be a once-in-a-lifetime thing. So I do think that taking the time to share our experience and that journey with them does set us apart from our competitors a little bit.
So you've been their guide so many times that actually you're very comfortable almost walking round the corner into the unknown with your clients.
Exactly right. And we have the tools, certainly with the cash flow planning that we're talking about and some of the experience that Michael's alluded to help them navigate that, because it can be a very, very emotional and difficult decision for them to make. So we try, we don't say that we can do everything for them, but we certainly try and help as much as we can. And I think the feedback that we've had is that the experience we bring is certainly valued.
That's brilliant. I had a client once who said that after she sold her business, she felt like she'd been left in the car park with the lights out. So it sounds like your clients are having exactly the opposite experience. Fantastic.
That's certainly what we try to achieve. Well, James, Mairi, thank you very much for your insights into some of the issues entrepreneurs face when exiting businesses. If you would like to discuss any of these issues, please do not hesitate to get in touch.